informal program. Oh, and here we go. We're recorded and up and running. So thank you everybody who joined us for the informal cocktail hour. That was our first trial run. We may have gone a little bit over time, but we will make up for it here real soon. So thank you for joining us this evening. We're celebrating today Park County Environmental Council's 31st year. For those of you who just joined and who may not know, my name is Michelle Youbaraga. My pronouns are she, her, and I've served as PCEC's executive director since 2015. I'm joined today by one of our newest board members, Luis Islas, will be your co-hosts tonight. And I'm going to kick us off our meeting here with a quick introduction to our work in this place, and then share the agenda and what you can expect for the rest of the evening. Feel free to keep your video on or off. It's completely up to you. This is our annual membership gathering, which has taken many different forms over the past 30 years. We've done a lot of backyard potlucks, picnics at Sacagawea, barbecues by the river, pretty raucous one down at Follow Your Nose, and a few lovely sit-down dinners at Chico. This is our second virtual event, which we all have a few mixed feelings about. I have to say it's going really well, and it's really nice to see you all so far. But last year, the virtual event, I think, felt really novel and fun. And by this time, a year later, we're all feeling a bit fatigued by the pandemic, by Zoom, and really ready to be back to normal. So I'm grateful that you took the time out of your evening to join us here virtually tonight. Thank you. The event is also being recorded and will be streamed on Facebook for folks that couldn't join us tonight. So our mission at PCEC is to work with you. We're your community conservation group, the people of Park County, to safeguard our communities, the Yellowstone River, our vast and wild public lands, and the wild animals that inhabit them through grassroots advocacy and education. We have the privilege of living in an incredible place. We've got striking mountain ranges and valleys that are home to native grasses, rich soils teeming with life, wild rivers, grizzly bears, field mice, wolverines, hummingbirds, migrating herds of elk, mule deer, and pronghorn, bison that once freely roamed, open wild lands, and more. Park County is the traditional homeland of the Apsaloka, or the Crow tribe, and their ancestors. For the Crow tribe and other indigenous nations across the region, like Yellowstone's northern Tukadika, this area continues to be a culturally and very spiritually significant area. Europeans who arrived in the 19th century were also drawn to the beauty and bounty that this land offers. So what is Park County today has a long tradition of human habitation, of people who've loved, cherished, and stewarded this place. And we're committed to working together to honor this legacy and this place for future generations. And we're grateful that you're here with us today. So I want to thank you all for what you've done to help build and grow this organization from a handful of concerned citizens in 1989 to a robust organization with more than 600 members and close to 3,000 supporters now that come together to speak up for this place. It's been a great pleasure and deep honor getting to know you all and doing this work for almost 7 years now. So here's what we can expect for the evening. This year's theme is growing together. We've all seen unprecedented growth in Park County since this time last year, with more and more people escaping to rural corners of the world with access to public lands like we have right out our back doors. As a result, we've seen skyrocketing home prices and a host of community challenges that are related. Meanwhile, our summers are hotter and smokier because of climate change. And we have some really great speakers tonight that give us a taste of these challenges and the opportunities we have as a community to face these challenges head on. We believe that it's clear that the challenges of the future will require us to work and grow together. And we are joined today by some incredible speakers and PCEC collaborators. Our keynote tonight is Dr. Cathy Whitlock, followed by Tom Minor Rancher, Hannibal Anderson, and Park County Commissioner Bill Berg. Plus, we've got our 3 amazing conservation leaders at Park High, Annika Coleman, Stella Davis, and Severn Sienkiewicz. We've scheduled to go for an hour and a half, and we're committed to wrapping up at 7:30 tonight. So in addition to this wonderful lineup of speakers, we have a bit of business, a few awards, and fundraising to attend to as well. With that, I'm excited to welcome my co-host, Luis, onto the stage to help guide us through the evening. Luis joined our board just this past year, and he's already spent countless hours learning about our work on the ground, helping me with his area of expertise, fundraising, and more. Thank you so much, and welcome, Luis.
Thank you, Michelle. Hi, everyone. Hello, everyone. Again, to those who joined us during the virtual cocktail hour. It's a pleasure to join Michelle in hosting today's call, and I am so honored to serve on PCEC's board in partnership. We're joined by an incredible set of board members whose names you will see here in just a second, and whom I am deeply appreciate for their service. We're also grateful to the board members who have served over the past 30 years as well. So here are the board members. I also wanted to take a second to introduce PCEC's staff. These are the folks who are the engine and who put the work in to make sure that we are successful as an organization. I'm going to say their names, and we'll have each individual staff member come off mute, say their full name, title, and how long they have been with PCEC. So first we have Michelle.
Michelle Youbaraga. I'm your executive director, and I've been on board since 2015.
Next, we have Erica.
Hi all, I'm Erica Lighthizer. I'm the deputy director, and I have also been with PCEC since 2015.
Next, we have Max.
Hi everyone, Max Yartsburg. I'm the conservation director. I started on staff in 2016 and was actually a board member previously to that for a couple of years. So in for the long run.
Thank you, Max. Next, we have Robin.
Hi, this is Robin Atticott. I'm their operations director, and I've been working with PCEC for about 3 years now.
Next, we have Jonathan.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Hettinger. I'm the communications director. I've been with PCEC since June of 2020.
Thank you. Carrie.
Hi, I'm Carrie Keel. I'm the Business and Community Partnerships Director. I have been a staff member with PCEC since March of this year, but I also have worked with PCEC as a contractor for probably 1.5 years or 2 years prior to that.
Thank you. Sarah.
Is.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sarah Stanz, and like Carrie, I also joined the wonderful PCEC staff in March. And before that, in June, when we were in the pandemic, I was contracting independently.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And thank you to all of the staff members that we have here at PCEC. Like I said before, they are the engine of this organization, and they are the faces that we deal with on just to get the work done here in the county. So now I'm going to pass it on over to Michelle for a little bit of business as well.
Thank you, Luis. Yeah, so just as a reminder, this is our official membership meeting. So the business we need to take care of, first I want to remind our members that everybody that is a member, you have an opportunity to ratify the board by voting. So I sent an email to members on Monday with a link to the voting. If you are a member and you haven't already voted, we're going to go ahead and drop that link in the chat. Please click on the link and place your votes, and we'll get that taken care of. The other thing, we updated our bylaws and circulated those for your review as well. I had one very astute, longtime PCEC alumni who was actually at the founding board asked for a copy of the old bylaws, which I'm happy to share. The update was mostly administrative, but for anyone that has any additional questions, please just reach out and let me know, and I'm happy to chat on the phone or set up a coffee date. Also, later in our meeting, you can look forward to a financial update from our board co-chair and treasurer, Lucinda Reinhold. Back to you, Luis.
Speaking of finances, one of the purposes of this meeting is to launch our year-end fundraising campaign. Our goal is to raise $50,000 from now through the end of the year. We've had some very generous donors who have agreed to match the first $10,000 raised within the next 24 hours. You can click on the donation link we'll provide you periodically in the chat window, or you can make a pledge in the chat and donate later. If you say in the chat that you want to pledge, we will follow up in an email and provide you the link, but please keep in mind that the match expires by the end of the day tomorrow. We also have some really great gifts tonight as well. A gift of $50 will get you a calendar by Tom Murphy, and a gift of $100 will get you the calendar and a customized PCEC mug. And as it just so happens, that $50 is also the given amount to become a member of PCEC, so get after it. Before introducing our first speaker, I want to give you a few quick pointers about Zoom. While some folks are already very experienced with Zoom, others, like myself, still haven't quite gotten the hang of it. First, please be sure that you are muted as we begin. For most viewers, move your cursor to the bottom of your screen and you will see the mute button in the lower left-hand corner. Just give it a click if it's not muted already. For a better view of just our speakers, you can change your screen view to speaker view by using the button in the upper right corner of your screen. Also, feel free to make comments in the chat window along with pledging. Unfortunately, we do not expect to have time for Q&A today, but we're covering a lot of really great content. We hope to host future community conversations around. We're happy to receive any feedback from our members if you'd like to hear more on any particular subject. As I believe Michelle already mentioned, we are recording this call. So without further ado, it is my pleasure and honor to introduce our first speaker and who is also our keynote, Dr. Cathy Whitlock. Dr. Kathy Whitlock is a Regents Professor of Earth Sciences at Montana State University and a fellow of the Montana Institute on Ecosystems. She is nationally and internationally recognized for her research and leadership activities in the field of past climate and environmental change, particularly in the Yellowstone region. She is co-author of the Montana Climate Assessment, the Montana Climate Solutions Plan, and a recent report on climate change and human health in Montana. This year, Kathy and a team released the Greater Yellowstone Climate Assessment. This is the first report of its kind focused on an ecosystem. Kathy has received numerous awards and honors for her work, and in 2018, she became the first person from a Montana university to be elected to the National Academy of Sciences. So Dr. Kathy Whitlock, would you please take it away?
Thanks so much, Louise. Let me share the screen here. Let's see. Host disabled participant screen sharing.
Try it again.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Can you all see that?
Perfect.
Well, thanks so much for letting me be part of the Rendezvous this year for PCEC. I'm thrilled to be here. And I want to talk about climate change in our region, and especially what I see are the opportunities and the challenges. I think climate change is on everybody's mind these days, and it's because we see more and more of these climate-related disasters around the world. I think we're realizing that climate change is both costly and it's also deadly. I was reading just recently that over 5 million people die each year from climate change. And in our region, what we're experiencing, I think most acutely, is drought. I just got this map a couple of days ago, but the entire state is in drought, severe, extreme to exceptional drought. And it's in fact the worst drought that we've seen since they've been developing this monitoring system. So 20 years, and I suspect for several decades, it's the worst drought. We also lived through an extreme wildfire season this year. And even though we didn't have so many fires in our region, we experienced the health consequences of smoke coming from other places. So we are not immune to climate change in this region, not at all. In June, we released what is the first climate assessment of an ecosystem, and what a grand ecosystem to start with. We wanted to bore in and look deeper at what climate change means for the Greater Yellowstone region, shown by the black line here. And in particular, bore even deeper than that and see what it means for individual watersheds. So Park County is in this upper Yellowstone watershed, and I'll provide a little bit of information about what's happening there. This was a 2.5-year project to put this assessment together, and it involved collaborators from the USGS, Montana State University, University of Wyoming, Greater Yellowstone Coalition, and Mountain Works. I'm just going to show you a couple of data points from the assessment, and this is the temperature record, because temperature is what's happening in this region, in our region. So here's a temperature curve showing you how much warming or cooling there's been from 1900 and what's projected for the end of the century. There's been a little bit of warming in the early part of the 20th century, but since 1950, there's been pretty steady warming. And now we're about 2 degrees Fahrenheit warming in the upper Yellowstone than we were in 1950. The two lines going into the future are sort of pathways of how our future could look. The red line is an extreme scenario where we do nothing to reduce greenhouse gas warming, but probably we're on the blue line where there's going to be some flattening of the curve. And we're going to be looking at about 5 degrees warming in upper Yellowstone at the end of the century. That's really quite a lot. And warming affects everything in this region. Everything's being driven by warmer temperatures because it affects whether we get rain or whether we get snow. Here's a graph from the report showing you 1950 to 2100. And the green is the elevations dominated by rain. Blue is the elevations dominated by snow. And red, orange, and yellow are the slushy zone in between that we all hate. In 1950, our snow line was at about 7,000 feet. But because it's warmer, it's been steadily rising in elevation. And as that warming continues, by the end of the century, snow line will be at about 10,000 feet. So we're forcing snow line higher and higher up the mountains. And you can see that on these maps. The blue is the area of snow in 1990 in this graph. And here we move through the 21st century so that at the end of the 21st century, there's hardly any snow at all. It's just on the highest peaks. For upper Yellowstone, Park County, this represents a 44% loss in snowpack. And snowpack is our reservoir of water through the rest of the year, right? And we're already seeing since 1950 that this reservoir is changing. We see, for example, that it melts and drains really quickly in the spring. And so the amount of water in the streams has been anomalously high since 1950 in March, April, and May. And then we go into the summer and we've used up our snowpack and the streams are lower. The flow in the streams is lower. So we go from high flow to low flow. And that's a trend that's going to continue to the end of the century and get worse. So what does climate change mean for us in Park County? We're going to be living with more heat, and we're going to be living with summer drought. Heat is going to come in the form of more days over 90, less days of frost, and drought is going to come simply because we've lost our snowpack. And as a result of that, we're going to be living with ecological change. We can already see that animals are adjusting their ranges to accommodate climate change. Grizzly bears are on the move, wolverine populations are declining, toads and frogs are having a hard time, whitebark pines getting clobbered at high elevations, and migratory birds are arriving before their food sources are available. We're going to be living with uncertainty. Think about it, warmer temperatures, less snow, snow to rain, snow's going to melt sooner, we're going to go into summers being drier. And that puts a lot of stress on economies that depend on winter snowpack. and also on late season irrigation and communities that need reliable supplies of water. There's going to be more wildfires, that's for sure. We thought 1988 was a big deal, but we're probably going to see fires, large fires every year. And if they're not burning in our county, they're going to be burning somewhere else, and we're going to experience the smoke. And then there's health risks. It's not just smoke, it's heat and what that does to our heart and lungs, what it does to our mental health. We're going to see more water and insect transmitted diseases and impacts on vulnerable parts of the population. People that are far from services, old, young, people that live in poverty, people with health conditions, and pregnant women. And as was pointed out, on top of climate change, we're dealing with more people. More people are coming to this region to visit it because where they live is impossibly hot, is my interpretation. And they're trying to get away. More people are moving here because they want to enjoy the amenities. And both of these put tremendous pressure on our infrastructure, on our communities, on our backcountry, on our waterways. At the same time, the climate is changing. So what do we do? What's the opportunities? How do we get beyond the what Greta Thunberg is calling the blah, blah, blah of climate talk? What can we do? And we really have two paths. One is to flatten the curve. And this means flatten the temperature curve and reduce emissions of greenhouse gases. Now, this is a systematic problem that's going to involve governments and industry, but I still think in Park County, we can envision what a decarbonized place this would be if we could reduce our carbon footprint. And we also, I think, need to be much more politically active and put climate change at the top of the list of concerns. The other thing that we need to do is plan for change. And this is where I think PCEC is very well positioned to lead us. Plan for change means plan for ecosystem change, the services they provide, and the communities that are going to be impacted by these changes. So what can PCEC do? Well, I think they can lead us in the development of climate adaptation priorities for the Upper Yellowstone. And by this, I mean, they can develop a list of specifics for how we can tackle climate change in this particular region. So think about ecosystems. Why don't we develop some real specific plans around climate smart conservation? We should identify waterways and landscapes that are critical habitat for creating connectivity for wildlife. Think about water. How do we share water with human and non-human users in ways that satisfy the needs of agriculture, recreation, and municipalities? I think we're all hoping there's going to be some federal money coming down the pike to help us with infrastructure. Do we have a list of bridges and roads and culverts that are most in need of fortification so that they can withstand climate surprises that are coming down the road? We need to prepare for more fires and make communities more fire resilient. We need to really help people plan to protect buildings and homes and ensure human safety as more fires are coming down the road. And then we need to make sure our social safety net is strong and active. We need to be sure that we don't leave any vulnerable populations behind. Do we know who those vulnerable populations are? Are they going to be protected from heat? Are they going to be protected from smoke? I think these are things we need to factor in, and PCEC, I think, is the group to do it. So just in closing, I want to shout out again about the Greater Yellowstone Climate Assessment. It's available online, and if you have any questions about it, please contact me by email. I'm happy to answer questions. So thanks again for having me here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Whitlock, for your inspiring and important presentation tonight. There's a lot for us to think about here in Park County. So before we move on to our next speaker, I'd like to share a very exciting opportunity for everybody on the call today to support our work and to take home some beautiful local art. Last week, we launched our first ever Art for Conservation online auction. Many of you were able to join us for our community conversation with artists last Wednesday, but for anybody that missed it, the conversation is available on the auction website where you can hear directly from the artists and view the art. The art auction was our board member Karen Cochran's vision, and we're grateful for all of her work, bringing together some incredible artists and artwork. The auction is live. Anybody can now bid. And it'll be open through the end of the month. So just follow that link there. And we have some amazing pieces from local artists, especially want to highlight the piece from Parks Reece, the original artwork for our mine campaign. So this is a really great way to support our work, bring home some one-of-a-kind local art, and celebrate this place. So I'd love to hand it over to Karen and invite her to tell us a bit more about each of these pieces of art, and then we'll move to our next speaker.
Thanks, Michelle. What we wanted to do with this is to begin to find a way to talk more about our growing together, and the way that we do that through art and conservation, art stimulating conservation and conservation stimulating art. And actually, Michelle, this picture that Parks did for us is a really perfect example, because those of us who may not have known in the very beginning what was at stake with the gold mining in the Immigrant Gulch, all they had to do was look at that picture that Parks did, and man, you see it right away. It makes all the sense in the world. It's, oh, I get it. I get it. Yeah, we need to support this. So we wanted to bring in this other dimension to raise a little bit of money for us, but also to raise awareness of how art can stimulate these kind of conversations. Not only does Park County have one of the most beautiful environments in the entire world, as I love bringing friends here to see it, but we also are blessed with artists, photographers, painters, sculptures. I mean, you name it. We have a lot of that to offer. Now, this picture that Louise Johns has done is absolutely stunning, because in the background, what you see is correct. You see a bolt of lightning. Louise took this in the Tom Miner Basin at the Anderson Ranch. One of the things that I love about Louise's photographs are that they all tell wonderful stories. They tell stories about the land, about the people in the land, about the wildlife. Louise first came to Montana when she was an editor on the National Geographic's 2016 Yellowstone issue. Some of you all may remember that. It sold out, I don't know how many different editions. It was so popular, and she worked on this with her father, Chris Johns. She loves to photograph communities, whether it be in Montana in the West, or whether it be in Africa, or whether it be in South America, where I think she actually is right now. But we're really, really lucky to have her. And you all would be extremely lucky to have this photograph in your collection. It is beautifully framed and matted. It's a good sized picture too. And then Tom Murphy, our board member for over 30 years, has this iconic picture of the frosted bison. When I look at it, I just think, what a story that tells. also about Tom, because he goes into the Yellowstone in the middle of the winter, photographs things that just seem unbelievable to me, and that really point to the majesty of our ecosystem and the Yellowstone Park. He has been done a photographic thing for Christmas in Yellowstone that PBC has been airing ever since 2006. And then this picture by Ed Anders is quite wonderful. Ed is a contemporary artist and grew up in Livingston. And this last summer, he actually had the most comprehensive exhibition of his work that he's had to date, over 80 canvases. He's deeply committed to painting about the natural environment, using art to express what he really cares about. So we're very lucky to have this piece, and this can also be in your collection as well. I mean, Paradise Valley is the best place. Let's keep it that way and enjoy all the art that these artists are able to give us. And I want to encourage everybody to bid. You will be able to bid through the end of the month, which is great. But these pieces are magnificent and need to be, you need to have some of these in your collection.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you for bringing this together. And there are many incredible artists in our community, and this is just a handful of the ones that are engaged with us today. And I just want to say, Karen and I are currently in a bidding war over one of these pieces. And I'll tell you, you can sign up and you can get a text. If you bid on something, it'll text you when you get outbid. So I encourage everybody to jump in there. I really would sure love to have Parks Reece's original artwork on my wall. It really captures the moment that this community came together. It catalyzed grassroots organizing like I've never seen before. And it tells a story of David over Goliath. All of these pieces of art tell a story about our community. And so I hope that we all enjoy bidding on them. Thank you for the art to the artists. And I hope that I get outbid, because my limit is, I'm getting there pretty quick here. So I'm going to pass it back to you, Luis, to introduce our next speaker.
Absolutely. Like they said, don't forget to bid. And if you would like to make just a direct donation, you can also click on the donation link in the chat right there. Help us reach our $10,000 match here. And now I'd like to ask Max to introduce our next speaker, Hannibal Anderson.
Thank you, Luis. Thank you, everyone. It is, my pleasure. I get to introduce Hannibal Anderson. Many of you may know him, but for those who don't, Hannibal grew up in Tom Minor Basin on his family's ranch with his wife, Julie, where they raised their 5 children. Think back to that photograph of Luis's that was taken on his family ranch there. So it gives you an idea of where Hannibal and his family live and where he grew up. He spent much of his early life on the family ranches there in Tom Minor, and also in another in the Mojave Desert, which I thought was beautiful too. Hannibal has had a successful career in public education, first as a teacher in Big Timber, then as a school district administrator in Browning, Montana, following that in Livingston, Montana, and then he took those skills to 3 different rural schools in Alaska. He's just retired from his long career as a public servant and working for our youth and schools. And now he's continuing his work in the ranching world and focusing on regenerative agriculture and the ranching and wildland interface. And in that vein, he and his family have been leaders in developing and implementing ranching practices that allow for coexistence with Greater Yellowstone's apex predators like grizzlies and wolves in the Tom Minor Basin, along with his neighbors in that area. Healthy landscapes, regenerative agriculture, low stress livestock handling, social and environmental justice, exploration of landscape consciousness, and developing experiences and strategies for synthesizing human and non-human realities are central to Hannibal's interests and comprise the foundation of his ecological ethics, which he will be speaking to us about shortly. So it is my pleasure to introduce Hannibal and turn the stage over to him. Thank you.
Thank you, Max. What a wonderful introduction that was. It reminds me of just how wonderful a life I've led up to this point. I'm working on my screen share here. It says host disabled attendee screen sharing. Okay.
Okay, Hannibal, try again.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you so much. I'll get this together here. What you should see in front of you right away is a wonderful graphic of the concept of social capital. Social capital is, as many of you may know, is one of what has existed for a while as a model of holistic security and attention to the things that are most important to us: social capital, economic capital, and environmental capital. Environmental and economic, I would propose, are a bit easier to define and measure than social capital often is, and it falls into technical areas rapidly, and for better or worse, various entities do their best to define what's going on within the environmental and economic areas. Social capital is, I think, a more difficult thing to really imagine how it really works, and to be aware of when it's happening appropriately and what it really is. So this model is a good complex integration of the variety of things that exist within a healthy social and other aspects environment. And you can see it has all kinds of aspects that we would be familiar with. This is designed, and I apologize, I do not know who made this. Perhaps Michelle can give her credit, but it's a graduate student at Montana University. I want to speak really briefly about a couple of things specific in this model, and they are at a much more intimate level. The way that social capital is developed throughout just interpersonal, very intimate, I would say, local community relationships. Because without that development of trust or some confidence in being able to work together through the lenses or the voices of very diverse aspects or people within our communities, none of these other pieces, which are significant and substantial, would be really developed. And so I'll skip to the next slide here, if I may. Oops. To say that in developing social capital through developing confidence in each other, we have to recognize, I believe, that conflict is not something to objectify and make into something more polarized than it may already be. But we should look at conflict as being something that's inherent to our everyday experience. We continuously are navigating our ways through small aspects or small levels of conflict, and then often are confronted with larger aspects of it. And yet it is something that we should, I would suggest that we move into as a part of a flowing kind of phenomenon of sharing energy with lots of diverse aspects, in a complex kind of field of awareness and alertness to various kinds of information, and not find ourselves into an antagonistic relationships because of, I think, mischaracterizing our relationship with conflict. Clearly, we have lots of conflict to deal with, these areas, I should say, are areas where conflict is inherently involved. Kathy, of course, in her wonderful presentation, spoke about climate change, and of course, we'll have conflict around that. We know it. I've just brought up a few other pieces, the environmental protection aspects, wildlife and predators. In our ranching world, we've been very much in conversations around how to have wildlife friendly or predator friendly agricultural practices. Property use and planning, very recently and in an ongoing fashion, the fairly contentious, I would say, but also enlightening in terms of different people's perspectives, the conversations around so-called zoning and conflict mitigation shed a light on that conflict. And then, of course, I hate to even raise this point, but in the background of all of it, I would suggest is the role of government. And so we, in regard to those critical areas, we know we will have conflict. And so some of the questions are, how do we navigate it and how do we manage it as effectively as we can? So this slide of managing conflict by removing barriers, this terminology is taken from a person I've paid close attention to, a guy named Adam Kahane, international collaboration, conflict mitigation person who's been involved in national level conflict mitigation work. So basically, his position is that the primary function or the primary aspect of removing barriers is to open the field of conversation to all the people that are interested in what that conversation is about. And we could expect in Park County, certainly, and in other areas, many, many people who are paying attention, most, if not all of the people who are paying attention are the interested parties. And so the danger on the counterpoint of this is to have to see the critical conversations as occurring between a relatively small group of people, perhaps people in power and influence, when in fact, many, many others need to be at the table in some kind of way. So by removing the barriers, we do it through providing lots of information. Never can there be enough. Recognizing communication as absolutely the core of managing diverse voices and working through evolving the shared kind of understandings of diverse voices. Conversations that can take on a number of different kinds of characteristics, leading from or beginning with, let's say, very self-centered, highly self-interested conversations with disregard for others, to, at the other end of that spectrum, to highly integrated or inclusive conversations in which all or most of the other voices are listened to with true genuineness and are respectfully regarded and expected to be included in whatever vision or intentions evolve to the end of the work. Those conversations that include clarity of purpose and intention from parties, and then of course, as I'm leading to the opportunity for synergy among those. And so in that, it's just one step deeper into it. Through a diverse set of voices in our community, which we know exist, and which we know have tremendous legitimacy in their own personal narratives, multi-generationally often. It's really important to see where the people, where we all will fall in the spectrum between our individual interests and quite narrowly defined individual views, and how we are able to transform into those broader, more self-interested or self-enlightened community interests. And through that, and I'm going to go directly to the conversation piece again, structuring the conversation in regard to whether it is a debate in which we try to protect our own position, or whether it's a dialogue through which we start to share understandings and then emerge to something like a generative or a co-creative conversation through which diverse voices find themselves aligned through a belief in working towards something that they all share together. That depends on the structure of the conversation. And then the structure of the setting is about what kind of venue or setting can those conversations occur in. And I will only lightly speak to how I think the highly charged, quite polarized conversations in our community recently around the conflict mitigation prospect have been unfortunately set up by having the settings of those conversations occur in pretty high profile, public, highly charged places where people believe that decisions might be immediately or quickly following. And so it sets up those conversations for being not designed to hear clearly what other people are saying, and to share and to respect and to move toward quieter and more thoughtful kinds of sharings and affirmations of the way people are actually feeling about things. And I say that on a quick side note, as a landowner, longtime landowner, participant in the agricultural community, dear friends in the long-standing agricultural community in this county. Many of those folks who are standing on the less enthusiastic side of the conflict mitigation conversation have seen tremendous change in this county since their parents or grandparents came here. They've watched a lot of stuff that they thought was healthy and balanced and working well start to change. And hearing those perspectives, I think, are very, very important in moving through into the constructive synergies that we need to achieve. And with that, I'll get off my little soapbox. I thank you all for, let me see if I can go to my next slide. Thank you all for your incredible work. PCEC, you do incredible work, and I'm glad to be a part of it. Eager to participate more, and thank you all for listening. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Hannibal. You know, I think this whole theory of social capital illustrates beautifully of just how much we as a community can actually grow together by removing those barriers and then having those crucial conversations, right? That's the only way we can actually go on and build that social capital. I think that presentation illustrates beautifully just the whole theme of tonight, right? So we're going to check in with our friends at the office, Carrie and Robin. How are we doing on donations?
Okay, Robin, go.
All right, can you guys hear me? Sorry, we have too many computers going on. Can you see that?
Go, talk.
All right, so here's our goal of 10,000. Thank you for all the donations of everyone that did that via registration. And we are currently at a 3,000 mark. So we're close to halfway. So keep them coming. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much again. Just like we mentioned a little bit earlier, if you make a $50 donation, you receive that Tom Murphy calendar, which is beautiful and showcases the beautiful photography of our of just our valley and the county in itself. And if you make that $100 donation, you also receive that PCEC mug plus the calendar. So please help us get to our $10,000 match. Help us push forward with our annual year-end fundraising campaign. And as a reminder, that match ends at the end of the day tomorrow. So please help us out here, and you can go to the chat and click on the donation link. So with that being said, Michelle.
Thank you, Luis. I'm going to introduce our next speaker, Bill Berg. Bill Berg is a Park County Commissioner. Many of you know Bill. He lives just outside of Gardner, Montana. He tells the story of migrating to Montana from Minnesota in the early 70s for a summer job in Yellowstone National Park. His previous work includes building a successful business on the internet at www.coolworks.com, working as the director of business operations for Yellowstone Park Service stations, and numerous seasonal jobs in Montana, Wyoming, Washington, and Alaska that included working as a backcountry ranger, instructor for the National Outdoor Leadership School, and as a Yellowstone winter keeper. Bill served on numerous volunteer boards at the local, regional, and national levels over the years. We are so incredibly grateful that Bill is joining us here tonight. He's a busy guy. Thank you for your service. You do such great work for our county. Let's welcome Bill Berg.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm getting messages that says my internet connection video off. Thanks, Michelle, Kathy, and Hannibal. Hello, everybody. First of all, I'm not speaking for the Park County Commission. I'm speaking for myself, and my day job is serving as a Park County Commissioner. We have an embarrassment of riches of natural capital in Park County, 2 out of 5 entrances to the planet's first national park, the tallest peak in Montana, the Crazies, and that river. And we're a Washington capital going back at least 12,000. Pcec boy and his parents camped out on the Shields. Opinions calling for us all to do what we can to build that social capital that Hannibal defined. I have a lot to learn from Hannibal. They say that telling your neighbor he has a problem is like telling your fishing buddy there's a hole in her side of the boat. That connection between the individual and the community isn't always so clear, but together. I really like to think that we're wired to want to leave the wood pile higher than we found it. It's so easy to choose sides and demonize those who see things differently. I can build that social capital by recognizing our shared values and presuming decency in each other. We're almost 2 years into a pandemic, a physical and mental health and economic crisis that is hitting us. It's a good time to cut each other's slack. Thank you all for looking out for each other as we find our way. Kathy shines a light on many challenges ahead. This is not the same world that the Pcec child lived in, and it's not the world our kids and grandkids will live in either. Change is inevitable, but we each have a role to play. We, Park County, are 17,000 strong, laying the groundwork for that future in the way that we go about our business. Decisions that you make about running your household have an impact, as do decisions made at the county level. Much of what happens at the county is operational. We manage 8,000 tons of garbage. Believe it or not, each pound goes all the way to Great Falls. We're responsible for 1,000 miles of roads and bridges. Kathy, we do have a list. Emergency response enforcement look after all 17,000 of us and throngs of visitors that flow through here from around the globe. It's a lot, and we need to prepare for growth. Not everyone wants to live in a city, and modern technology offers more opportunity for those who want to join us here, even as those same pressures stress the ability of many locals to stay. Some things we're working on. I mentioned crucial conversations about conflict, about how we can best own our own piece of this land and share the landscape and use our tax dollars wisely at the same time. Zoning is a hot topic. Taking a systematic look at our review system to save money, time, fuel, and emissions. investing in our garbage collection system to protect people and bears. We would like to get back out of the news, look for progress next spring. How to balance the need for housing with the economic opportunities presented by local real estate. Using tax dollars as well as ARPA and income infrastructure funds by keeping our shovels sharp and ready for opportunity. For instance, we are making investments in clean drinking and wastewater management in the Shields, Gardner, and Cook City, Quebec for fires, floods, storm outs. We've already been working closely with Headwaters Economics as part of their community planning assistance for wildfire program for a couple of years. Investments in public transit, see Windrider, insulating and upgrading the HVAC system at the fairgrounds and elsewhere, changing to LED lights countywide, looking for opportunities for solar, see the museum, looking for more efficient vehicles as the fleet turns over. We're on the list for a Ford F-150 Lightning for starters, and working towards restoring passenger rail with the potential of economic benefits along with significant savings in efficiency, safety, and emissions. Patricia's probably standing up now. The infrastructure bill will provide a boost and fund for mitigating wildlife vehicle collisions to leverage efforts like Yellowstone Safe Passages. And I could go on. There are those that make things happen, those that watch things happen, and those that wonder what happened. We each have agency. We don't have to watch and wonder. The world is run by those who show up. It's easy to see the risks of doing something, but not the risks of doing nothing. That's why change is hard. The status quo doesn't always work for us, but it holds a lot of inertia. Somebody has to fix that hole in the boat. It's always a mistake to think there's nothing we can do. It can be hard to know when and how to show up, but please keep showing up and bring your neighbors and those with other ideas and opinions. We're complicated beings, and finding the balance between under and overreacting is hard in these polarized times. It's not safe to assume that the logic and assumptions that drive the status quo are still valid if they ever were. Crucial conversations will help us find our way. Wallace Stegner nailed it, asking us to rise to the level of our landscape and build a society to match the scenery. Let's do that. Can't wait to hear from these interns. Thank you all.
Thank you so much for that, Bill. And thank you for just taking the time to remind us of where we've been and where we're going as well. Now I'd like to pass it over to Sarah to introduce the interns that we've had here at PCEC.
Thank you, Luis. I am super honored to be introducing our next speakers. They were selected last spring for our paid internship and conservation leadership program. I can't say enough good things about these young women. Severn, Annika, Stella, passionate members of the Green Initiative, and you're really making waves within our community. When I first met them, I was really moved by their curiosity and the compassion that they had for our community. And they really took a creative approach and were inquisitive about the world and injected a lot of their youthful energy into a lot of our program areas within our staff. And at one point I was wondering if I would be able to have enough work for them because of their just extreme interest and desire to make a difference. And so we created a program, organized trail cleanups, engaged in planning and development work. They were invited around tables of local government decision makers to help influence some of that planning. And I'm just really, really proud of the output that they created in such a short time. So I'm super excited to hear about what was impactful to you three and what was meaningful during your time with PCEC. So the platform's all yours. Thanks for inspiring me in my own work, ladies, and you've really helped us co-create a better community for all of us. So thanks.
Thank you so much, Sarah. So I'm going to go first. I'm Severn Sienkiewicz. Okay, so like all of those who care about our planet, one of the most important things to me is feeling like I'm doing something and something concrete to help fight the climate crisis. And a lot of the time, my frustration and anxiety about climate change boils up when I feel like I can't make a difference or I'm not making a difference. but I have found that getting involved locally has helped to curb these frustrations. Through our internship with PCEC, we observed firsthand how our work was transforming our community to think and to be greener. When working the farmers market stand waste station, we saw the sheer volume of waste that was diverted away from the landfill to instead be composted and recycled back into flower beds and vegetable gardens in our community. Throughout our work with Sarah on active transportation in Livingston, we saw as ideas bloomed about bike boulevards and downtown art, and as those ideas were shared among our community. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to learn and to work alongside these amazing people at PCEC and feel the impact of their efforts to benefit this community. It has been incredible to see our work's tangible effects, and that is how I know we are making a difference.
Hi, I'm Annika Coleman. My favorite part of our summer internship was the trail cleanup Stella and I got to organize. We were worried no one would show up to help clean the Highway 89 bike path, but we had a group of about 10 to 15 people show up to help and stay well past when we expected them to. From kids to a retiree and even a full family, we got to see a small part of the community that cares about Livingston outdoors and the environment. That day gave me a small piece of hope that I needed. Most of the news I see about climate change and climate activism is negative, and during the summer with constant smoky skies, it was really hard not to get downhearted. But this internship showed me how many hardworking, talented, kind, and wonderful people really care in our community. I won't soon forget the people who showed up on that windy Saturday morning to pick up trash, or any of the adults I got to work with at PCEC who dedicate a large portion of their time every week of their life to protecting our natural spaces in Park County. As I move forward in life and find new communities, I hope to bring the same sense of pride and closeness to the outdoors and community I found at PCEC.
Hi, I'm Stella. Before starting this internship, I thought the only way to help save the environment was from imminent doom was to pick up trash on the side of the road, advocate for plastic alternatives in our local businesses, and to avoid taking my car everywhere. Of course, those are all very important, but very soon I learned that there is so much more. We as interns did so many different things around town, all having to do with assisting our planet. As Severn mentioned, we assisted with the farmers market, telling people where to put their recycling, compost, and landfill items, even if they didn't listen. We assisted in doing social media and eventually aid station for the Yellowstone Gateway 30K, a great race through our own Paradise Valley that was cupless as well as completely compostable. We worked with Sarah Stanz and the Active Transport Coalition to research and study active transportation, and worked with Vicki Petrie to screen print on boomerang bags. Doing so many different things to help a large cause taught me that there's a lot of value in every thought towards the environment. Doing small things like showing up to a trash cleanup or choosing to eat at a local business is not only reducing one's personal effect on climate change, but also inspiring those around us to do the same thing. Ultimately, the small actions we take can positively impact the future, and I appreciate PCEC for teaching me this. Thank you.
Thank you so much to all of our interns we had this summer, and thank you to all of our speakers for the excellent presentations. Before we move on, I just want to remind everybody to please feel free to get up and move around, stretch out if you have to, go take a quick bio break. This is a pretty informal meeting, so while we won't pause and wait for you, just make sure that you put yourself on mute if you take that bio break and turn off your camera and do that. We still have a few more exciting things to do, including our award ceremony, but I have to be that guy as a natural fundraiser. And I have to talk about the quick reminder. We have that $10,000 match for any donations made in the next 24 hours. A huge thank you to our anonymous donors and everyone that has gone online and donated already tonight. We have had great momentum and are on our way towards reaching our goal. So Robin, Carrie, do you want to quickly show where we are right now?
Yes, we do. So I'm on my camera. You can't quite see. Robin's here with me. You can't quite see. I don't know if you can see the thermometer on one of your screens, but we are at about $4,500. We've gotten a couple of nice big donations in the last few minutes. So thank you to all who are donating. We so appreciate it. So we're about halfway there. So please help us to get to that $10,000 mark. I can show you these cups in real life here. There we go. They're super cool. Different colors, really fun. You know you're gonna want them. So please keep donating. We so appreciate it. And thank you for hanging out with us this evening.
All right. Well, I think that's back to me. Thank you, Carrie, Robin. Thank you, Luis, for keeping us on track. We're actually doing pretty good on time, despite we kind of got off to a little bit of a slower start. So, and I really need to say a heartfelt thank you to our conservation leaders, Severn, Annika, Stella. You three are amazing. You inspire us. So there's so much mutual learning and growing, and we're so grateful for all that you did for PCEC. So thank you, and all that you're going to do for the future. So with that, we're going to move it into the awards portion of our evening tonight, and we have 2 awards to give out. We have our Janet Shirey Spirit Award, and this award is honoring Janet Shirey. Many of you knew her. She was before my time at PCEC, but a champion of planning in Park County. She gave countless hours, as I've been told, organizing her neighbors, testifying in meetings and more, knocking on doors. So this award tonight is in her honor. And we have a recording of Livingston City Commissioner Melissa Nootz giving the award. So I'm going to cue the video.
So I'm Melissa Nootz. I'm a Livingston City Commissioner. I've been serving since the fall of 2018, and I've been on the planning board most of that time. And so what occurs to me that all the good people of PCEC will know is how important public participation is for really like how we make decisions and work together as a community. And I can't help but feel how hard that's been over the last couple of years during this pandemic. I think we've been really tested as a community to figure out how to come together and work together and just navigate all of this uncharted territory. And it's not lost on me, how all of this was happening at this really critical venture with a growth policy. Right when we were getting to the point to get it across the finish line and start reviewing it, where the community would really have a chance to engage, is really when things started to lock down. And it was hard. And at the planning board, we met for months. Often our meetings were 4 hours long. We typically had somewhere between 30 to 50 people coming to meetings. I think by the end we had over 1,500 comments that the planning board had gone through, written and verbal testimony. And all of that was really important to fine-tune the growth policy. And growth policy sounds so generic, but really it's a community vision. So it's a really important document where we vision and dream together for what this place can be. And so these meetings, the importance of these meetings weren't lost on the people on the board. We knew how the document could be used and how important the meetings were. And so I'm really excited that this year PCEC wants to acknowledge Chair Jessie Wilcox for this award. She created a space that somehow people managed to feel welcomed, even in a Zoom meeting, which is really hard to do, and create a space where people felt safe to participate between meetings and at meetings and share their concerns and help people feel heard for months and hours on nights when we had to put our kids to bed, wake up early the next morning and go to work, and she just kept coming back for more. So Jessie, thank you so much for your service to Livingston. I could not be more honored to announce that you're the one getting this award this year. Thank you for all you do for our community. Congratulations.
Yay, Jessie. Do we still have Jessie on? There you are. Jessie, thank you so much. You really are an inspiration to all of us, and we really want you to know how much we deeply appreciate all that you did for our community. Many, many, many hours. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Would you like to say anything?
If I could like pull myself together, I would totally see something faint. My gosh. Oh, look at that picture. Wow, what a gift it was to be, and still is, to be a part of that process. And I loved Melissa's comments. I am so proud of all the work that we did as a planning board, but also all the work we did as a community. I mean, we, as Melissa alluded to, 1,500 comments, either in person or via email. I mean, we poured through a lot of public opinion, and it was a lot, but it was so valuable in the process. And the community crafted the growth policy, which is exactly what it was meant to be. So I am very thankful and honored for the award. I mean, what a huge deal to me. I mean, how cool for our community, and what a gift from PCEC. So thank you so much. I have enjoyed my evening with you guys tonight too. I had no idea how much fun this was going to be, and great speakers this evening. And I finished my kombucha, my hard kombucha, so I'm probably a little more emotional than I should be. But anyway, thank you so much. Thanks for the award. Thanks for the recognition. But really, it goes to everybody, because it was a huge community effort. And I'm just so, thankful that I got to be a part of that process. It was fun and hard, and now it's ready to be implemented. So let's do it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jessie. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so our next award is, I'm going to pass it over to Carrie and Robin. This is a new award that we created because we had an individual who committed, I don't even know how many hours this year and how many hours the year before. So Volunteer of the Year Award. Take it away, Carrie and Robin.
Thanks, Michelle. I am incredibly honored to be able to announce Brett DeYoung as our Volunteer of the Year Award. Brett is our race director for the Yellowstone Gateway 30K, and Robin and I were so honored to work with him. I'm going to let Robin say a little bit more about Brett.
So Brett brought the idea for a 30K race to PCEC when Immigrant Gulch was threatened by a Canadian gold mining company. He wanted people to experience Immigrant Gulch for everything it has to offer. He felt that getting folks out on the landscape to experience this place would raise awareness that this was not the place for a gold mine. We've had 3 successful races with Brett at the helm. Brett embodies the true community volunteer. He's a public lands champion. He shares his passion of running by donating hundreds of hours every year as a race director for the Yellowstone Gateway 30K. Carrie and I learned so much this year from Brett about what it takes to put on an event of this magnitude. His extensive knowledge creates a race that is fun, exciting for runners and volunteers alike. We all had so much fun being part of this race. Without Brett, this race would not exist, nor could we put it on each year. His knowledge of the backcountry tied with his ultra athlete abilities is a perfect combination for success. Along with juggling race logistics, he still manages to get his daughter, Lily, who is also a former PCEC intern, off to college. Despite our best efforts in planning, the weekends always coincide with the race and getting Lily off to college. We are so thankful for Brett and his continued work on the Yellowstone Gateway 30K. Carrie and I look forward to continuing to grow this event with Brett in the years to come. Thank you so much, Brett.
Congratulations.
Thanks, you guys.
Sorry, tricked you. I didn't tell you why you had to be here.
You did. You totally set me up. No, I wasn't expecting that. So I had to change my hat. So
Oh, wait, no, turn it back. You just changed it up.
No.
Oh, the
No,
old
that's-
one.
That's the first year when it was the Yellowstone City 30K, because the Gateway Act hadn't been passed, and then that was the next one. And then one year we didn't have it, and then we had this one.
The man who wears many hats.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. Well, thanks. Thanks a lot. It's so fun working with you guys. It's most of the fun has just been engaging with everybody at Park County Environmental Council and getting to be involved and feeling a little bit a part of it. I mean, there's so much more that you all do. Besides that, it's fun to be a little bit of a part of it and have such a positive event and involve, the local businesses and get people up there in the Gulch. And it didn't take you all long to get that Gateway Protection Act signed. So that was pretty amazing. It seemed like that was sort of the focus of getting people up there, and that happened so quickly. We had to turn it into like within a couple of years, just the celebration of the act. So
Thank you, Brett.
Thanks, Brett.
Back to you, Louise. Thank you, Brett, so much. We got a few more business things to do.
Thank you. Congratulations again to Jessie and Brett. Can we just get one quick round of applause again for our award winners? Now I'd like to invite board co-chair Lucinda Reynolds to share our financial report. Lucinda, could you please?
Great. Thank you, Luis. As a membership organization, we're required to review annually with our members a summary of our financial position. And you see the summary on your screen, I hope. And I'm very happy to report that PCEC is in good financial shape. We've worked very carefully to manage our finances as we have grown over the last several years to be able to sustain the important work that we do for conservation in this community. And you'll see on the slide that it shows our 2021 budget on the left, and then the actual results as of the end of the third quarter at September 30th. And I should mention, and then a percentage of the target on the far right. And I should mention also that our 2022 budget will be ready by year end for anybody who's interested, and our actual results for last year, 2020, are available for anyone to review on our Form 990. So as you can see, our revenues at 86% of our budget at September 30th show that we have a ways to go to meet our budget goal by year end. So we need your help. And a donation tonight would be a great way to help us meet that goal. On the expense side, the staff has done an excellent job of managing expenses, which depend in part on the timing of program needs, as many of you who are familiar with not-for-profit organizations, I'm sure will understand. So we do expect to see expenses increase closer to our budgeted target by the end of the fourth quarter. Also, the slide on the screen shows that our net income at the end of the third quarter includes funds that are actually allocated to next year's projects, as well as our reserve account, which PCEC has been building over the last several years to provide organizational stability. So the actual operating net income as of 9/30 to fund fourth quarter operations is approximately $36,000. But we really hope to raise additional funds from members like you prior to year end. And with your help, we are confident that we can meet our 2021 budget goal. Also, I just wanted to point you to the comments at the top of the slide. We would like to show you that members like you provide the majority of support for PCEC's programs. And importantly, approximately 90% of your donated dollars goes directly to our community conservation work. So I want to thank you all for your generosity and hope that you will continue to donate to this great cause. Thanks again.
Great. Now let's see how we're doing on our fundraising and head over to Robin and Carrie in the office again. Carrie, Robin, how are we?
We are doing great. I don't know if you can see, we're working on two computers, so we're trying not to get feedback. I'm hoping that you can see Robin's computer that's got the thermometer on it. But we are at Robin 8475 is where we think we're at. We're scrambling to do the math. So sorry about that as we're getting donations on text and on a computer and a few different places. So keep them coming. We're so excited. Thank you so much for your donations.
We're fine with scrambling. Keep those coming in super fast. I can add, I've got Excel on a string.
All right, back to you, Louise.
Great. Thank you. I think it's actually my turn now. And I want to give a shout out to our interns. I think they created a bit of a surge there. So here we are, we're getting down to the final few minutes. And I actually think we timed this pretty well because I think I have the next portion here. It's my job to kind of wrap us up and talk a little bit about some of our major accomplishments in 2021 and what you can expect in 2022. So as I anticipated, we're going to have to move a little bit quickly through this portion. And you can see there's a lot of text here on our 2021 PCEC accomplishments. So I'll just go through them quickly. We're really proud that we passed a growth policy for the city of Livingston that prioritizes infill and strengthening our downtown. It was your advocacy that helped prevent the massive development on the outskirts of Livingston and really encouraged a focusing on infill. So thank you all. We're also celebrating this year the opening of the Porcupine Ibex Trail in the Crazy Mountains. That's been the result of years of collaboration that led to permanent easements across private land and the transitioning to a new non-motorized trail connecting two Forest Service cabins. We submitted a land exchange to the Forest Service, combining that would work to consolidate 30 square miles of checkerboard in the Crazy Mountains. That's really critical to our work to protect that range, that we have consolidated public lands. And we're going to continue working towards protections for that landscape. The downtown planning space, we worked with the Montana State University's Community Design Center to complete an inventory of our downtown space for the city, which will inform a downtown master plan. That's really exciting. We also worked on the Park County Housing Action Plan, which you will see in your inboxes very soon. PCEC is going to roll out the action plan and work to build public support now and in 2022. During the pandemic, we saw such an increase in recreation on public lands that we worked with partners in business and organizations and agencies to create the Paradise Pledge, which is available online. And that's a tool to encourage respectful use of our public resources here in Yellowstone's Gateway. We also advocated for the update to Livingston's Trails and Active Transportation Plan. We connected you all through our long community conversation series here on Zoom. And as you can see, we worked with youth through our Conservation Leaders Program, not just with the inspiring interns that you saw tonight, but we also hosted a group of AmeriCorps volunteers that contributed over 1,400 hours of volunteer time in our community. Let's go to the next slide. These are some victories you've seen before, so I'll just be quick because we never want to stop celebrating. We in 2020, actually, after our last rendezvous, we won a landmark court decision that prevented exploratory drilling in Emigrant Gulch, and really was a victory for all Montanans' right to a clean and healthful environment. It's an important, historic PCEC DEQ. If you want to read it, let me know. I'll email it to you. Of course, we passed the Yellowstone Gateway Protection Act in 2019. We're going to celebrate that for a long time, maybe with a beautiful piece of art on your wall. And then in 2018, we prevented some oil and gas leasing. Can you go to the next slide, Carrie? I really just wanted to highlight that at PCEC, we value partnerships. I think sometimes you may not realize how much our staff and our community that we're doing together because we're doing these in collaborative spaces. So this is a list of all the partnerships that PCEC is involved in. And I'm not going to list them off here. I'll just highlight a few. Of course, the Yellowstone Gateway Business Coalition, Crazy Mountain Access Project. This is a picture of our partners there. The Active Transportation Coalition is an important one. Max does so much work in the Paradise Valley with the Upper Yellowstone Watershed Group and Yellowstone Safe Passages. And all of the handmade bags you see at the grocery store are boomerang bags. So lots of important work happening in partnership. Go to the next slide, Carrie. All right, we're gonna go just a few minutes late. I'm sorry, guys. Our upcoming focus areas, I'm not gonna dive into this slide here. It's gonna be more of the same that you've seen plus. So we're doing more in community planning. We're working on the housing action plan, downtown plan. We're gonna continue our work on conflict mitigation and finding common ground there and more neighborhood planning. I'll just quickly say in the wildlife space, I'm very excited about Yellowstone Safe Passages and the county's willingness to work on grizzly bear coexistence. So we had a couple bears in the Paradise Valley that created some troubles, and we very quickly pivoted, and I think we're going to see some good outcomes as far as just bear proofing our community. How about the next slide, Carrie? This is a brand new program in 2022. PCEC received a really generous grant from AMB West Philanthropies, and we're going to partner with the Weed Management Area, Park County Cooperative Weed Management Area, MSU Extension, the Conservation District, and the Natural Resources Conservation Service to roll out this new program for weed control, and we'll be recruiting a landscape conservation specialist. Weed control is really important to the productivity of our working lands as well as wildlife and habitat. So this is a really exciting program for us to spend time not only exploring invasive weeds on the land, but studying how we treat them and what kind of results we get from different types of treatment. So we're very excited about that. And I think that takes us to our last slide here. That's, I'm gonna pass it to you, Luis, and we can close out just a few minutes behind schedule here.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you everybody that's been able to stay on just a couple of minutes past our original scheduled end time here. I just want to close the evening by thanking everyone again and all of the folks that are watching at home, volunteering year-round and donating help to ensure that we can keep doing this work. To our dedicated board and former board members, to the speakers for joining us tonight, and for working in partnership with our team, and for the wonderful team of staff and contractors at PCEC. We couldn't do this work without all of you. Don't forget, as you can see on this slide, to make a donation and help us reach our $10,000 match. And if you're interested in one of our membership gifts, we will make sure you receive those as a thank you for your contribution. Carrie, Robin, do you want to quickly flash that thermometer and give us an update here?
We do. So that thermometer, if you can see it on the other computer, says that we are at $9,491. So we are so close to that match. You can certainly donate after we get off this evening and through tomorrow. So please, please help us make it to 10,000. We're very close.
Mm-hmm. And as you know, that donation link is in that chat right here. You can just click on the chat in the bottom half of the screen. You can click on the link, or you can make a pledge as well. And that pledge will also go towards that $10,000 match. So once again, thank you everybody for all of your hard work. Thank you to the staff, to our volunteers, to our board members, and for all of our members here at PCEC. You are what drives our successes. And I can't wait to see everybody at the next rendezvous, and hopefully it'll be in person. You all have a wonderful night.
Thank you all so much for being here.